Hey there.
Hello.
Hey, you guys. It's your girl AP, otherwise known as A, and this is my lovely co-host Jay. Welcome back to the A&J podcast.
Welcome back. It's been a little bit of time, but I think we pre-warned you last time, so
we won't even get into all that. We can just dive right into just kind of catching up. There's been a lot that's happened. I feel like I always say that, but that's just life. Within the last couple of months. So we moved. This is not our same space. As you guys can see, we have a blank wall because we have not decorated anything yet. This is our bedroom. It looks a hot mess in terms of just after a move. We are working on one room at a time, and the bedroom is probably going to be the last thing we worry about. The community spaces have to get done first. But all that aside, I'm super excited to be in this home. We prayed for it. We have it, and it's a blessing.
Yeah, I'm grateful that we're settled to the point now where we can feel comfortable having another pod, and we missed you guys. I mean, I think that's fair to say. She's been trying to get me to do a pod for several weeks now, so I will take the blame for the hold up. It has been me.
I will say honestly, more so than anything, this is probably like a really safe and enjoyable space for me. Because if you follow me on any of my socials, you'll know I'm a digital content creator. And I have shared very openly that, depression has been kicking my butt. I'm dealing with thyroid disease right now. And so my energy and my desire to create content for my personal brand pages is non-existent. Like I do it, especially if I have a brand partnership that has to be fulfilled, but I'm not as excited about it as I once was. And I think that translates to my audience. I think they can see that. This is kind of more therapeutic for me because I'm with my husband, it's my bestie, and I enjoy having conversation with him. So I think it's just been something that I think would make me feel a little bit better. That's probably why I've been a little more pressed to do this than anything else.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy it. This has been a roller coaster, and not so much that because there was ups and downs. It's just like a lot of work that went into us transitioning from one home to the next, and in between that, where we made plans to travel in advance of planning to move. So that happened smack dab in the middle of everything. Like we literally slept in our house for one night and went on a vacation for almost a week.
Which shout out to the squad who, like, the Las Vegas trips are something that I'm really coming to appreciate. So shout out to everybody who followed me in Jay's first trip in 23 when he first took me to Vegas, which was super exciting for me because I had not gone and he had the opportunity to go for a work thing. The following year, we went and we took two of our closest friends, and it was like a little couple trip, and we had so much fun that this year, we invited, and I mean, at the end of last year, we were like, look, we're going to do this again. And our other friends were like, we're down, we want to go. And that's exactly what happened. And we got to celebrate the anniversary of one of our couple of friends who they just hit, 14 years of marriage.
Yeah.
And combined at the table, we had...
Was it 14 or 15? Because that's what there was a year behind us.
We had other couples whose anniversaries are kind of in succession. So shout out to Mac and BB, who just hit 23 years of marriage. Shout out to Wayne and Carlton, who hit 22 years of marriage on the same day as them. Of course, shout out to Shanika and Kedar, 14 years of marriage. Jada and Styles, they are hitting 7 years of marriage.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's 7 years of marriage.
And theirs is this month, right? It's coming up.
It's coming up in April. It's just beautiful. I always try to take a moment out because I think marriage just gets such a negative rap on social media. There's a lot of opinion. And I feel like the popular thing right now is to talk about how marriage is just piece of paper and marriage is not this and you don't have to be married. And that's fine. But there are those of us out there who genuinely love our mates, want to be married, honor what marriage is. And I feel personally blessed to be around a group of individuals who feel the same way. We hold each other accountable, the men and the women, and I love that energy. We also have another couple who recently celebrated 37 years of marriage. Like, we're around some very solid married folks. So that trip it just felt like Black excellence. It felt like Black beauty. It felt like so much beautiful love. And it was refreshing. And having to come back kind of sucked. Was so worn out after that trip because we kind of did a lot more running around than I typically would do. But it was fun. We had a great time. And I'm glad we did it, regardless of the transition of the move.
Yeah. And I mean, as far as the marriage haters online and in the world today, like, I like to believe that marriage is what you make of it, right? Yeah. Like, because it's only whack if you let it be. If you really are determined to be happily married and meaning you're putting effort into it that it requires learning your mate, learning their likes, their dislikes. Like, of course, there's going to be bumps in the road and all of that stuff. It's never going to be perfect, but it can be extremely enjoyable. And the people that we associate with are nothing but a reflection of that. Even the people whose marriages have been tested, who have gone through things,
Right.
who have remarried, you know, all of them are a testament to you can have success in marriage if you truly want it with the person you're married to. That's not the case for everybody. Everybody isn't happily married. Everybody didn't marry the right person. Everybody didn't get married for the right reasons. But if you can find that, success can definitely be found if you approach marriage with the right intentions.
Absolutely. And like you said, when you are with the right person or the person you desire to really put the effort in with, I think it makes all the difference. And I'm just glad that over the years we've been able to develop or cultivate those type of friendships and find other like-minded individuals who have that same, ideology behind marriage.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely learned a lot from our friends and
yeah.
our associates on how to continue continue to keep things interesting and keep those fires lit and the sparks going and stuff. So
Also, shout out to my blogaboo, Lolo Alexis, formerly known as System of Curves, who recently got engaged to her Dubay, who is now going to be Du husband. Recently, I think, right while we were in Vegas, like she was in Dubai,
yeah,
and she came home an engaged woman. So very excited for her. Watching her journey, her sticking to her standards, deciding to abstain from sex. She didn't want to have casual sex. She started getting into her Bible and following the path that she wanted to take. And I admire the commitment. I think there's a lot of people who get online who share a lot of relationship advice and they don't necessarily walk or the talk, but to know her personally and know the way that she made honest effort to transform herself, physically, mentally, and spiritually, I think was a beautiful thing. And I think as a result of that, she is getting what she desires. And I think that's something I'd love to see more of us do, more women specifically, even men. Let me not just say more women, is having your standard. I saw something today where they said it's an immediate red flag if a man or a woman tells you, oh, your standards are too high. That just means that is not the person for you. Because the person that is for you is going to respect the standards that you have and they're either going to adhere to them or say, "Hey, respectfully, I can't." But there's nothing wrong with having standards, and if there's something that you desire and you want, it's okay to hold out until you get what's right for you, instead of rushing for or rushing to or settling for something that you're not going to be satisfied with.
it's funny when you think about it, like somebody telling somebody their standards are too high. Like, oh,
That's
you
the thing,
oh, you really want the best for yourself, huh?
right? And that is like, but don't you? Because you're over
That's-
here and you don't think that I'm the best. Why are you here?
I know that's a thing too. Like, and I mean, it's something I've probably even said. Like hearing some of the like, I remember seeing a girl have a notebook full of requirements that she wanted for
Okay,
somebody who
sis.
was the one, right? And like to me, that was like kind of extreme because like you want somebody to hit all these perfect marks. We talk about it all the time on this podcast. Like you probably not getting 100% of what you want, right? Like you might get 80% at best and sacrifice 20 because
The
of
80
human
20 rule.
imperfection,
Yeah.
right? You know what I'm saying? So
We all learned that. And why did I get married? Shout
yes,
out. Yes. Come on.
and I like it, like because I believe it's a real thing. Like
Yeah.
but that's any good compromise, any good bargain. Like somebody has to lose something, right? Like there's a give and take, and you find a balance. Like you find things that you can live with and that you can't live with, and those are the make or break points. But to sit there and think like somebody has to be 100% of something that you're looking for, I do think that's unrealistic. Not that your goals are, not that your standards are too high, but you're just unrealistic.
But
Right?
there's going to be some marks missed. And I think the reality is you determining what things you can compromise on. Because
What
there
is
is a
acceptable and what isn't?
compromise
Yeah.
along the way somewhere. I don't care what anybody says.
I mean,
Because if somebody is hitting 100% of marks, that's
more
scary.
power to you.
I hope it happens.
Yeah.
I don't know if I think that is genuine.
They probably masking like a mug.
Oh, baby. And that I think that's a fear. And I feel like that's one I did not have with you. I think you were pretty upfront about who you were from the very beginning. And I think I was too. I think I masked a little bit until, I broke down and told you about my mental health
I masked
stuff.
a little bit.
Yeah, by cleaning his apartment, had it smelling good, making me think he was a super organized ninja, only to find out, boom, full chaos, ADHD, full effect.
Not full chaos. I'm just not quite that much of a perfectionist when it comes to where things go all the time, 24/7.
You
But
say tomato, I say tomato. Okay.
but
Um,
I always made sure things were presentable. It wasn't ever no foul stuff. Like,
Speaking of presentable, before this thought leaves my head, I don't know if y'all have been seeing this, and we're gonna hop over to another subject of the office sirens. I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but I do want to. I do want to speak to it
this is
because
all her too.
yeah,
She can go ISO with this.
it's eating my butt up. Okay, because really, what it is a post I just saw tonight that really just made me throw my phone in the air and fight the air. Because typically, I was seeing, in case y'all don't know, the office siren is the woman who comes to the office dressed business sexy, like the outfits scream it was supposed to be business,
Sexy is crazy.
but like it's a blazer, plunging neckline, nothing underneath, all cleavage, panty line showing, skirt, pencil, mini, strappy stiletto, the stripper heel, like things we know don't belong in the office, but we gonna push the agenda. And what's happening is it started as like this trend, I guess, where girls were like sharing their office siren looks, but then these younger generations are so dumb or so stupid that they really thought they could pull it off for real in real life. And so we had a series of people sharing their stories of getting fired from their jobs because they're wearing inappropriate clothing for work. And then, of course, this becomes, you're hurting my expression and my ability to be myself, but you have agreed contractually to go to a job at somebody else's business and you have to abide by their rules. That's a part of your employment. And if they have a dress code, and even if they don't, and they tell you, well, this is what we're doing, sis, you gotta, you're an adult now. Like, you can't dress like Barbie and go into the office. That's not how this works. And when I started seeing the uptick in the trend, I really wanted it to not be for real, but it really was. Like, I really got to listen to a series of people share emails, share their phone calls that they recorded with their supervisors about their outfits, but then acting like the victim. And I'm just like, it's like the woman with the out of office message who was trying to tell all these anecdotal stories and be funny and have an expression of herself getting mad because she was told, yo, keep your out of office message simple. We don't need these dissertations, like any of that stuff. And she got upset. Like, she came to the internet thinking that, and I'm like, and she had to be like my age, close to it. I'm 40, and she had to be maybe anywhere between 35 and 40. Like, you're a grown woman. You know better. So these office siren stories are really driving me batty. But tonight I was scrolling, mind my business. Somebody posted a threads. And this is a woman telling the story of her girlfriend. And she's like, oh, yes, my girlfriend went to a Zoom meeting in a cami. Now, I don't know if anybody else out here knows what a cami is, but if you don't, she said a silk cami, specifically a camisole. Okay. Those are usually something of the lace variety around the breast line, spaghetti strap. It's worn under something, usually a jacket, a sweater, or a blouse. And depending on what the cami looks like, it can be kind of revealing.
It's almost like a wife beater for ladies.
Yeah, like, and then she was like lashes longer than something. They were long. They're false lashes. And when they got off the call, they hit her up and were like, "We've decided to pull resources from this project. You're no longer needed." And then I guess apparently later on down the line, she got called to do a project with the VP. And the way the friend translated this was like, some people are just intimidated by your confidence. And I guess it's not a bad thing to be memorable. You are missing the point, and people like you are missing the point. This is not about them being intimidated by her confidence. This is about a woman who is an adult who didn't have the common sense not to come to a Zoom meeting in your PJs, your lingerie. I don't care about lashes. I mean, lash length is a personal opinion. I think, honestly, we all know, depending on what you do for work, if you're public facing or, the culture or the environment, long lashes could be considered distracting. I have worn false lashes to work, but there's a limit to how long they are. Like, I keep a 25 millimeter in the tuck for date nights and glamorous occasions, not for the office. So that was iffy. But the fact that she probably said she came in a camisole and thought people were intimidated by her confidence, y'all are living in the land of delusion. Living in the land of delusion. If you are a grown adult and you are getting a job, read those contracts carefully. Read the conduct policy. Read the social media policy as well, because a lot of jobs have them now. Because y'all is getting fired for stupid things that you should know as an adult. And it really makes me believe that common sense is not common anymore, because there's something that has been lost along the way. I believe as an elder millennial, my generation, we are the last who got taught decorum in class and professionalism. And if you're under 40, I'm a little nervous. Now, it's not all y'all, but it's a lot of y'all. And if you're under 35, definitely nervous. Like, it's just something to be said about the culture. That's my rant. I'm going to leave it alone after that. I just wanted to get that off my chest, because I really saw that post and wanted, like, I was just like, and I was disappointed because she was an African American, and I'm like, we already bat 1,000 in corporate spaces. Okay, we already having a fight just to wear natural hair and not offend people. There's literally the Crown Act that's been dissolved and overturned. Like, we're fighting to just wear what grows out of our head. Can we not add more things to the plate that are not necessary? Can we do that? Thank you. Let's get to where natural hair is acceptable before we start worrying about wearing lingerie to work. That's just my opinion. And I'm gonna let it go.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, good. You get it all off your chest now.
You don't have no thoughts about that? If I decide to go out?
No.
Okay.
That's not going to happen. Because that's not appropriate for my wife or for the workplace. I don't agree with that.
Oh, okay.
But, people nowadays, they want to challenge everything. Like, even stuff that don't really need to be challenged. Like, nobody's sitting around like, this is injustice. Like, why can't we wear inappropriate clothes to work? Like, why is it inappropriate?
What about my self-expression? After hours.
It's just a little titty meat. You scared of it?
Between that 8 to 5 is not your time for personal expression. You are a representative of the company that you work for. No.
I mean, I can see how some people think it's a distraction because, like, I've walked past, like, I worked in a building where all the offices had clear glass. And I remember walking by a conference room one day and seeing this girl, like, pulling down her skirt because it was so short. I'm like, yo, why is her skirt so short? Like, why is she comfortable coming to work with her skirt that short? Like, and it's like mid-thigh. Like, it's like club length skirt short. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you might get a side eye at the club with that skirt on. You know what I'm saying? So for somebody to come to a corporate workplace, it's inappropriate. It's a distraction, and whether or not it should be or it shouldn't be is a whole nother topic.
Hey, please don't get twisted. I got smoke for the men too, because I don't want to see your chest hair. And you don't need to wear nut huggers. Can I say that? Okay. Your pants don't need to be so tight that we can see your organs.
Yeah.
And when that happens, okay, or, maybe you're a little blessed and endowed. Maybe you got a little junk in the trunk as a man. Do we need to see that? No, we don't. I feel like the same, thing should apply to a man. So please don't. It's just this office iron thing is a trend amongst the women right now on social media. I haven't been seeing it too much with the men.
So no gray sweatpants on Casual Friday?
Let me tell you something. First of all, no. Casual Friday is usually reserved for like a polo and some denim jeans, maybe a button up, not gray sweatpants, because that is just lingerie. That's thought wear. I don't care what you say. At any rate, y'all.
You scared of his confidence.
Yeah, that's what it is. The confidence. Aaron, yeah, that's Mufasa. And never mind. Let me leave that story alone. At any rate, so tonight, Jared got to screen an iconic Black love movie for the first time in his life, which is crazy because he's 5 years older than me. And I'm certain I watched this movie a year after it came out. So I had to be about 13 when I saw it. But
full disclosure, I never wanted to see this
which
movie.
is even more disrespectful. No class whatsoever.
We were talking about it amongst our friend group. And I was like, you never seen that movie? I love that movie. It's a great movie. I'm like, wow. Well, homeboy's wife never saw it either. So I was like, all right, bet. Let's watch this movie. Because I'm finally ready to see this. I want to know what all the fuss is about. And
it's an iconic classic, y'all.
Cut to the chase. The movie is Love Jones. And yes, I never saw Love Jones. And it's probably one of the only iconic Black movies that I haven't seen.
It's a rite of passage. Even if it's not your thing.
I'm not even going to lie. The only other movie that comes to mind that fits in that category that I haven't seen all the way through is Crooklyn. I've never seen Crooklyn from beginning to end. And I've only seen bits and pieces of it. It's another movie. I never really was like, oh man, I can't wait to see Crooklyn.
Of Tisa, who did I marry?
I do want to see it at some point, but like,
I would be ashamed and embarrassed to admit that publicly.
I have no shame in that.
Crooklyn is a quotable movie, and we'll get into that. So that's the next movie. We clearly got to watch Crooklyn. We can watch that with the kids.
Tonight's we good. Tonight's video though kind of inspired us to. So for the next month, we're gonna review other iconic Black movies, and we'll start with Love Jones, and we'll do one every week for the month of April.
So, all right, I will admit. First of all, I'm a poet. I'm a writer. And so that was one of the reasons that I fell in love with that movie for a few reasons. I was 12 when it came out, 13, I think, when I saw it. And it was just dope because I loved Ally McBeal back in the day. And Lisa Nicole Carson, I think that's her name. Mm-hmm. She played Renee on Ally McBeal, and she was in this movie. And it was just so hyped to see her. But it was a movie, to me, where we were seeing affluent Black people who were establishing their careers, doing creative things.
I wouldn't refer to them as affluent. They seem like everyday Black people.
No, she was a photographer, artist. He was a poet writing a book. She had an apartment that was fired downtown Chicago.
But that wasn't her apartment. She said she was staying at a friend's
she
place.
was lying to him.
Oh, that was her
That was her
apartment?
apartment.
I didn't catch that part.
It was, to me, they represented something. And
That
then
crib
one
was
of
fire.
Isaiah Washington's character, he was married and they had a house.
As a matter of fact, she had the most fire crib
She had the most
in the
fire
movie.
crib. But to me, it was like they were these progressive young Black people doing things. And I think that representation, especially during that in the mid 90s was not, or late 90s, wasn't always, because the movie came out in 97, was not always something we got to see. You know, there were plenty of rom-coms out there or romance movies, but they were not Black centered. And I feel like a lot of them showed struggle love, and not in the sense of what they were going through in this movie, but in a we're broke, we're poor, we try to make it work, he a drug dealer, things like that. This was the first time where it was like giving Buppy a little bit. And I think I appreciated seeing a different side of Black love and seeing it done in a manner where their careers are focused on art. That was something that I really was into.
I thought that was interesting. To me, the movie almost felt like a Huxtable type of positioning of the young black dating experience, because it was very ideal. Yeah. Everybody's circumstances felt very ideal,
and
yeah, and not just that though. Like, Larenz Tate was writing a book. Like he did say at some point he had like some money troubles. Like him and his homeboy had a discussion about that or whatever, because he was paying him money back or something like that, right? So I mean, that part to me felt a little realistic.
It's like it wasn't perfect, but you saw them making the effort.
And even Nia Long's,
everybody was in various stages too.
And even Nia Long's character was like looking for work. Like she wasn't, because even the boy, when he comes to ask her to come visit her in New York, he's like, "What, you working? You working now?"
Well, I remember like when she went to New York, she was looking for a job there, and like she got shot down. I think it was one of the things that inspired me, like when I had first moved to Philly, to feel comfortable going to do spoken word for the first time and being in those creative spaces, because I had seen it romanticized, as those kinds of images were kind of ingrained in me, and I think I appreciate it because I think it gave me a different experience than what I thought I could have had.
How did it feel? Because I was probably going to like 2 or 3 of them type of venues, and none of them, everything felt much more watered down than what they projected in that movie. Like it was almost like that bar they always hung out at Living Single or something like that. Like it just was like a cool spot. Like, do you feel like that's how your experience was? I know you went to Black Lily and stuff like that.
I think my experiences were similar in that sense. My first spoken word set was slightly different because it was not a spoken word venue. It was a hip hop joint. I got invited to do it by somebody. It was this group called Single Thoughts. They had allowed one of my homies at the time to do a freestyle set or something. It did not go well. But when the conversation came up that I did poetry, he was like, "Oh, like a Jill Scott type, like you should come and do it." And I didn't think he was serious, but he was very serious. Shout out to D. I always think that was my first spoken word set and kind of set me on my path when I moved to Philly. And although the venue was different, the energy was very much was very similar people. And I appreciated it more, I think, because that crowd was not there for poetry, but they showed so much respect to me artistically. They showed so much love during my set. After I came off, like people were coming up to me at the bar, and I was fairly young. I was like 19. So I was probably, I wasn't legal to be there technically, but they showed a lot of love and it motivated me to kind of step out more. So going to other spaces, I went to private events that like had been hosted at like Pearl of Africa, Sankofa House, things like that. I would say that energy was definitely similar in that sense.
I think the energy is kind of the same anywhere you go for that type of environment, right? Like,
I would say because I was younger, so I don't know how old the characters in Love Jones were supposed to be. I'm gonna peg it. They were supposed to maybe be early 30s,
late 20s, mid to late 20s,
very early 30s. Because Isaiah Washington seemed like he might be the oldest of them, and he was the one who was married with a kid, and so he presented as somebody who might have been like his mid 30s. I'm not sure, but I think because my experience in those spaces was very early on, like in my 19, 20, 21, it was a different energy. Now, by the time I was coming into my late 20s, I will say some of the spaces that I had been in felt like I was outgrowing them because I was getting older, but I don't think the crowd was necessarily getting older, except some of the key performers. And I think some of them were just kind of holding on to their youth. And for me, it didn't feel progressive in the way that I was developing.
Like, I think for me, like my experience with going to those type of spaces has always been, this is poetry night here. It wasn't like a spot that was dedicated to that or whatever. And I think like when you see see even the venue that they were at, like it felt like just the ideal environment. Like, you know what
The
I mean?
ambiance, the
If
low lighting,
everything
the
was just
seating,
everything was just very perfect, you know, throughout that movie. That was the one takeaway I got.
the
And,
cinematography to me was chef's kiss. I don't know how many people, when y'all watch movies, appreciate the framing, the lighting. I won't. I'm not a connoisseur of those things, but I do know that it doesn't matter the movie. I have a thing about the lenses that get used, how they shoot the scenes. All of those things to me kind of create how the movie feels to me. And that was just one of those movies to me that felt like they did a great job artistically conveying the message of the movie or what they were trying to sell. I think it worked.
yeah, I mean, visually, it's a great movie. And I don't usually, that's not usually something I dwell a lot on, but I did think they had some very iconic scenes, and really like all the iconic scenes. Even though I've never seen that movie, I was familiar with all of them, like just because they've been associated with that movie ever since. And I will say the soundtrack is fire to it, so I'm familiar with the movie from that perspective. I I used to love listening to the Love Jones soundtrack when it came out. Like
Oh yeah, the whole
everything on
soundtrack
there
was
was a banger.
banging.
So that the music was fire. Even the stuff that isn't from the actual movie soundtrack, but just the music that was selected for the background of scenes, some of that was dope too. But no, overall, the movie wasn't what I was expecting it to be. I thought it was going to be a lot more sappy, for lack of a better word. Like I thought it was really just going to be this whirlwind romance love story from beginning to end, and it was going to be mad poetry, like to the point where it was obnoxious. And like the poetry wasn't overwhelming. It was in a few key spots. I liked how it was placed in there. I liked even their love story, I'll say, because it didn't really feel like a
Trying to be
love
the
story.
blues in your left, the left thigh trying to be the funk in your right. That is the line that told me when I was younger. It made me fall in love with Lorenz Tate.
It was dope. Like it was a dope movie, and it was for the first time seeing it. It was dope. I don't know how much replay factor it has for me.
I have definitely watched that movie more than once, but today
I could watch it more than once. It's not something I want to see annually.
I think today I recognized something though, and as I was having a conversation with my girlfriend who was watching it for the first time, I realized watching it young, like in an experience with love. You know, in my mind, Lorenz Tate was the villain, right? He was the bad guy. Watching it in my early 20s, I didn't necessarily feel like he was the villain, but I was definitely still like on her side. Today was like, I think as an adult, like being my age now, having been through some things, experienced some things, watching that movie, she made me want to fight her. And I love me some Nia Long. I stand Nia Long. She is one of my favorite actresses from, you know, my childhood on. And watching that movie, like I was like, this is the dumb stuff. This is the toxicity that we talk about that we don't want to participate in. And it was like having the wool pulled off my eyes. Like, oh wait, she was being stupid. Now, did he have some miscommunication errors? Yes, but you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. She was playing stupid games.
She was, and I think they both were playing some stupid games. Like there was a lot. And some of it I do identify with, right? Because there was, from his perspective, there was this male ego that he was trying to hold on to, even at the same time realizing like, yo, she could be the one. I think I might have effed up, but he was still holding to his guns with being stupid about stuff, like where
the train
scene, just being stubborn, like
the train scene.
Yeah, because
when Josie called and was like, "Listen, she hasn't told you, but
she told me not to tell you," and he's giving her mad
static.
Like, why you calling me? Well, that's good. That's good for her. You know what I mean? Like,
you want this
what I'm supposed to do about that?
Bike ride through the city, running through the train station like a GD fool, only to be running next to her train. She ain't.
Yo, first of all, you running along the side of the train hoping she got a window seat. You don't know she got a window seat. She got a window seat. She got one, and you hoping you can see her before the train pull off. What was supposed to happen, my nigga? I was so glad when he was yelling at her and finally found her, and she couldn't even hear this dude outside. I'm like,
because that was like
that was so corny. What was going to happen? She going to get off at the next stop?
And I think the thing that I found so cute, not cute, but kind of funny, is that this is pre-cell phone times. Like even when she called her the cab home, like they had to walk to a payphone. Like, so this is pre-cell phone. They had beepers.
Somebody got paged in that movie. Yeah,
Bill Bellamy's character, Hollywood, which we won't even talk about the raggediness. First of all, that man showed signs of jealousy from the beginning. He was hating on his boy when he got up there to perform. It was very like so, and that was part of my reason being mad at her is like you acting like you don't know
that was actually foul
that
on
they're
her part.
homies.
That was foul.
You're upset because you see him with some girl at the bookstore after you decided to get up and leave to go reconcile with your ex-fiance in a whole nother state to finish up some business. What did you think he was finna do? And even if you saw him with a woman, he didn't cheat on you. You came back, got mad because he wasn't waiting in tears and sadness for you to come back. And so you run into his homie, whom you, if you've hung out with them, which you have, you understand the energy between the two of them. Understanding that his homie has a little jealousy issue with him, and you would even entertain the idea of going out with him.
I think even before that though, like the fact that the dude popped up, you having a conversation about him popping up and inviting you to New York with your homegirl, and your solution is to test this nigga to find out if he's going to be upset you want to leave to go see somebody else. Like that was drawing from the gate. Like that wasn't that is to me that was the first dumb move that you even want to play this game that you and your homegirl came up with.
And you know what's crazy though? It's like very beginning when you and I were first talking, I did my little test. I was 20. And that's the thing. Like you are a grown adult. Why are we still playing these games past 20?
The only thing I thought that was cool about it was like she accepted her responsibility for the mistake.
No, she didn't.
She did because she apologized to him. Like at one point, like she apologized to him for the way she acted when he walked her to the cab or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then she apologized when they started dating again. She was like, "Yo, I really did want to call you. I just didn't know."
But then got mad all over again, which led to their second breakup.
She got mad
about her calling and the fact that the girl Lisa's number was still like on his bulletin board. And he's like, listen, I told you, like, well, what reason are you giving me to trust you? What is he doing to not make you trust him? Because
her character in that movie was very much like the stereotypical Jones you hear people men complain about on the internet. Like she did all the things that dudes be complaining about females doing in relationships that turn them off, that they think are silly games that don't need to be played. Like just be honest, just be direct with me. Don't beat around the bush. Like you getting mad because this joint call at 5 a.m. and I didn't do anything inappropriate with her. Like he did draw a little bit for taking the call and getting out the bed. Like I would have, if I answered the phone to her on the phone, I'd be like, yo,
my girl here. Like
yo, this is a bad time. Why are you calling right now? I gotta go. I can't do this with you. And I would have banged. And I'm definitely not getting out the bed for somebody who I'm not smashing at 5 a.m. Like, forget that.
Seeing that today with a very different lens, having had some lived experiences at this point, I definitely saw the error in my ways of my view of things when I was much younger. But in all, it's still a movie.
It's a good movie. I will say, and maybe this is just me seeing it at almost 45 years old, but
you haven't had time to let it macerate with you the way the rest of it.
Look, I'm gonna say this. It was good. It is not great, but I will say it's right on par with that wave of movies at that time, like The Wood, The Best Man, Love and Basketball, Brown Sugar. Like,
whoa, I think they kind of like opened the door for the rest of those movies.
I was going to say that earlier. I think they did too, but I think it's quality wise, acting wise, maybe from a cinematography standpoint, it probably is better than Brown Sugar and Love and Basketball. Definitely The Wood and The Best Man is better than
quality. I don't know. Best Man was was up there.
The next best.
Because I think what else came out that year? Soul Food came out in '97, right? I think it did. Google it.
I don't remember when Soul Food came out.
I think Soul Food came out.
I know how to do my Googles.
Oh my God. I think Soul Food came out that same year, either '96 or '97. If it was '97, then it came out the same year.
To me, Soul Food is a different type of content. It doesn't really fall in that same bucket. So that's why I wouldn't name that in that category. It's black cinema. Soul Food came out in '97.
I'm so dead. I know. I know my movies.
I almost thought it was earlier than that, like for real. But
that soundtrack.
That's why I wanted to look it up. But Soul Food is black cinema. But I mean, in terms of like love and relationships, I think it's a broader story than that. Like those are more love story, romance, Jones. And
I mean, Soul Food did revolve around multiple. It was, but it revolved around love stories that made up this family. That's how I view it. Now that could just be the artist in me.
Yeah, you kind of you got real poetic right there, right quick. Love stories and how they impact this family.
Well, love stories make up. Love stories are the foundation of the family. Because without them love stories, family ain't
I
happy.
feel you ain't wrong. I'm just
Oh, I know.
that's your artistic perception. A little
Oh my god.
Anyway,
You about to?
But yes, I'm glad I finally saw Love Jones. I think it was a good movie.
We're gonna watch it again in 3 years and see how you feel.
I don't think it's epic. Like it wasn't like, oh my god, I can't believe I've been listening to this all my life. What was I doing? I was crazy.
Why
no,
are we married?
It's not like that. But it was a dope movie. It was a good movie, and I wish I probably would have liked it even more if I had been dating, was watching it with John as a young boy. You know what I mean? Like I can see why
you're veering into a course that is not necessary.
I mean, it's a good Netflix and chill movie. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Pre-Netflix.
No.
Yeah. But anyway.
Moving right along. What is the next Black Love movie from that era that we're going to watch and review?
I don't know. Should we continue that theme, or should it be stuff that you think I need to see that I haven't seen?
Well, what have you not seen?
I don't know.
We already said Crooklyn. That's more like family oriented.
Yeah, Crooklyn can be the last on the list. That's a long movie too.
It is, but it's so good. What about Spike Lee joints? Is there anything you haven't seen by him?
I've seen a lot of his movies. I actually like a lot of his movies. We'll figure it out.
And we're going to poll y'all on Instagram, and you can tell us what movies you think we need to watch.
And even if just anything, like tell us movies that you think are iconic that we need to see, that you want to hear.
I'm certain I've probably seen them all.
I'm telling you, Soul Food and Crooklyn are the only ones that I can think of that I haven't seen.
You haven't seen Soul Food?
Not Soul Food. I meant Crooklyn and Love Jones. I have seen Soul Food.
I definitely saw Soul Food. How dare you?
Yeah. I didn't care for the show very much.
Okay, but I did watched the show. Movie. I feel like Vanessa Williams on the show, like the dark skin Vanessa Williams, she was an excellent actress. I really enjoyed her.
Like her in New Jack City.
Yeah, I did too. But I don't know. We might just revisit some of those iconic movies just to have a different vantage point. We're older now. We might see things differently and weigh in. You know, one of the things that I've done with my daughter over the years is like and my boys as well, is just watching movies from like my day. So like Hook, Mrs. Doubtfire, E.T. I did all of the Brat Pack movies with my daughter, like Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, all that stuff, Breakfast Club, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Like we did, like, because I think it's important for them to get a taste of like, I watch Girls Just Want to Have Fun. I want her to see like what I grew up watching. And even when I think about those movies, those were a lot of white centered characters, which is why when that's why, because there weren't a lot of movies with black people in them that were shaped like
black
that.
Schoolmates.
And I'm trying to think if there were any guest appearances. I think in 16 Candles there was definitely like 1 or 2 black people but they didn't have a main role.
All the movies you named, the only black person I can think of in any of them was Forrest Whitaker in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and he's like the star football player. That movie is so old. Like Forrest Whitaker was young and brolic and everything back then. Like I can't think of anybody who was black in any of those other movies. But they wasn't really our story. So
right. So that's why I think when those black movies started coming out, it became like cultural. I think that's why they were so iconic. I'm not going to say it was because the movies were, cinema worthy or any of those things, although I do think a lot of them were. I think the fact that we were finally getting representation and the casts were mainly black, and not that I don't watch white movies because I do. I think it was just that finally we were getting diversity in film. At a time where seeing all black cast was not a thing, and centering stories in those communities versus always, because some things just aren't always going to connect or resonate or be relatable because the cultures are different, and that's perfectly fine. Like I enjoy it. Like I said, all those movies I listed off with my daughter, Dirty Dancing, all that. Like I love those. But can I connect? No, I didn't grow up in white suburban America. Like that wasn't my experience. So being able to see a different side, I think, made things seem a little more possible for me. Even though realistically, like I don't think I would have ever, like I said, consider Love Jones was kind of like the thing that made me feel like I could be a writer. I could do that. Like I could write poetry. It was something that I had already enjoyed doing, but seeing that was like, oh, there's adults out here who like to do that. And it's like a thing that you can do. So by the time I was of age to do it, like it had an impact in a very major way. And I think maybe that's why it feels so iconic to me, because it was so ingratiated in my growth and development as I got older.
It was. I mean, like I said, it was a good movie, and I enjoyed all those other movies. When I saw them, I saw a lot of those movies even in the movie theater at the time. But looking back on them as a more mature person than at the time I saw them initially, like you start to see like little flaws and holes in the storylines and goofy stuff that's like, oh, that's not realistic. I don't care about.
Oh,
that,
I mean,
but
if I were to go back and watch a lot of these movies, through a different lens now, I'm sure like I could write a dissertation on all of the things that are like, sure, that would not be happening. That's not realistic. Because even The Best Man, like that was. Well, we'll rewatch that.
The Best Man and was it The Wood or The Brothers? The Brothers is the one I keep thinking about.
No, I don't know
The Brothers.
if I remember The Brothers.
You might not. I don't know if you saw that because I think D.L. Hewley was in there. I think Shamar Moore was in there.
Oh, well, I'm not really. Well, this might be it. This might be the next movie because this might be a movie I have not seen. I don't think I saw The Brothers. We can watch that. I don't think I saw that. I remember The Best Man. I remember The Wood.
And it's similar to like.
That's how I fell in love with Maurice.
It's similar to like The Wood or The Best Man because it's a story about 4 black guys that grew up together. You know what I mean? And I think somebody is getting married in there or something. I can't remember.
Maybe I've seen it, but it did not stick out to me. I'd have to watch it. So maybe that will be our next movie.
But I wouldn't mind. And I wouldn't mind one of the movies being Love and Basketball because I don't think I've seen that since I saw it in the movie
I'm playing for your heart.
I don't think I've seen that since then.
And those movies are so dramatic. That movie made me mad because I've seen Brown Sugar like a million times because y'all know I'm a music head. Right up my alley, artistic, music, all of that stuff. That was Chef's Kiss. Now, looking back, Taye Diggs in that role.
Yeah, that's the most unrealistic part about that.
It's not like it was a beast, though. She could play any role as far as I'm concerned. I love her versatility. You know who else
kind of a chameleon.
Has versatility? I really appreciate Regina Hall.
And really?
Yeah. Oh,
because
absolutely.
have you seen her be? You said Regina Hall or Regina King?
Hall, both of them. I love Regina King too. Regina Hall though because
I always see her being funny. That's why I said I haven't seen her be serious.
Watch her in other things.
Like what? What's something she was serious in? Because I don't know her for anything.
I can't even
serious.
think of stuff off the top of my head. Like she's played roles. She was in Benjamin Button.
Nah, you thinking about Taraji P. Henson? She was in Benjamin.
Oh yeah, Taraji P. Henson. No, Regina Hall though. What was she in?
She was
in the scary movies, right?
Yeah, and she was in the joint with the dude from. She played the boy's wife in that that movie they shot over there off of Flat Shows. What's the at the church?
Oh, with from This Is Us. What's his name? He's in Paradise right now.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is. I always forget his name. But I like him.
I like him as an actor though. No, but I've seen Regina Hall. I gotta remember what it was I watched.
I can't think of nothing I've seen her in that.
Was she in Baby Boy? Or was that Taraji?
Oh, that's Taraji.
When did I see Regina Hall and then I felt like, so maybe, let me come back to that. Let me go review and see. Because I feel like I watched her in something.
She's in that John. You ever see that movie about that Steve Harvey book? The movie that's based off of the book that he wrote.
I don't like.
What is it?
I know what you're talking about.
It's not. I keep wanting to say Men Are From Mars and Women From Venus or something, but it's not that.
It's like 10 something, isn't
like,
it?
Yeah, it's something. I don't know if it's 10 something, but it's Is it What Women Want or no?
What Men Want or something. It's something. I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? Like I remember her from that.
You know what? I did not watch those movies. So those
movies were actually kind of funny.
Those movies might be something I need
because
to watch.
Because her and Kevin Hart, they're actually kind of funny.
Oh, what's the one? She Hate Me with Anthony Mackie.
We used to have it on DVD.
Yes, Anthony Mackie. And what's the genre from Scandal?
Yeah,
Carrie Washington. Yeah, she in her own real life scandal because you can't convince me that her and her co-actor from that show are in love with each other. Both of them married, but they be on the red carpet like they still in love. That show been off for almost like 15 years. What are we doing? It's crazy. He brings her up the look of love in their eyes for each other. I'm like, where is your wife? Where is your football player husband? Why y'all never seen together? But you two, y'all are still carrying on like you're on this show. I got so many questions.
She's still married to that boy.
I know she is, but you missing the point. Of
no, I'm asking, is she? Because I've only seen them together like a handful of times.
When I tell you they be on that red carpet together, like niggas love seeing ninjas love seeing them together. But I'm like, we just gonna act like this normal. Where is your wife? Because I know she cringe. I know his wife hates to see Kerry Washington coming because she knows about to come. Where he be writing sonnets and poetry is that just soliloquies about her. Like he cannot get enough of
Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston.
Let me tell you something. I feel like if anything should happen, God forbid, we gonna get the biography from him about his love for her. I'm just saying.
That's
But
fine.
it's all right. We got some movies that we can revisit. I definitely think
Yeah,
there are
but
some
please send recommendations because there might be some diamonds in the rough that
we're missing.
we're not thinking
I
about.
can't remember everything. You know,
Yeah.
I'm getting up there in age. But
And
no,
a
I
lot of these
thought
movies came out like 20 something years ago, so it's
yeah, almost 30, babe. Like 97.
real.
Yeah, we passed.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was 17 when Love Jones came out.
I was 12 when it came out.
Love Jones and Soul Food. I don't want to see Soul Food though. That's kind of
I've seen Soul Food a lot. I've seen Soul
I've
Food
seen
a
it
lot
enough. Like
that I could
it's
give
too.
you my thoughts
It's
on
kind of
that. I
sad
mean,
to me. Like I don't like when they
family.
cut
My
Big Mama
husband.
leg off and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was. Those be those struggle movies that I be talking about that I really like. Like, is some of this realistic? Yes, but give me more hopefulness. I don't need my man just got out of prison struggle movies. Like I don't want that to be the storyline all the time. I don't know.
It's probably one of Vivica Fox's best roles though, other than Kill Bill. Like
she was dope in Kill Bill. I do miss Living Single was something that I enjoyed watching because I felt like it gave us a different look at Black friendships, our connections with one another, dating. And I also feel that way about what was I just thinking about? Girlfriends. Although, me and Joycelyn, we used to have a podcast in the show called Gavin Girlfriends, where we rewatched Girlfriends when it first came on Netflix. And we did a series where we went live and we discussed it. And watching it back was very sobering and was like, dang, I used to love the show. And now, like, all I'm doing is picking apart all the reasons I hate these characters. Like, they were all trash. Every single last one of them.
Girlfriends, I probably watched Girlfriends more with you than I don't think I ever watched it by myself because I didn't really find any of them funny, like initially. And I liked Living Single a lot when it first came on, but kind of got old for me after a while. Like some of the humor just kind of like, I don't know, it got corny to me after a while. That's just my opinion. I know it's a lot of people out there that swear by Living Single. Like it's up there with like Different World and the Cosby Show. And
absolutely.
It really is not for me. I'm sorry. I love Queen Latifah too, but
why are we married? I don't even know. No, I love Living Single because she was a writer. She had a newspaper, and at some point I wanted to be a newspaper journalist, a magazine,
Flavor magazine.
I wanted to be a journalist, and I wanted to write for newspapers and magazines, all those things. I used to think I was going to write for Vibe magazine. I really thought that. Now we're in the age of digital, and that's actually how I just took the dive into blogging. So I'm these shows had more impact on my life that I think make them more endearing to me than they do for you. Like, because I was really being shaped by some of this stuff. They're doing this. This could be something I can do.
Probably have more shaping from like Martin.
Wrestling.
No, Martin and like even the Cosby Show.
How did Martin shape you? Because he was never mind. How did Martin shape you?
Just some of his timing and some of the jokes on there, some of the language and stuff like it. It was very, I'll say, influential at that time. Like it just changed the way people talk. You know what I mean? Like Martin was that dude when that show came on and blew up. Like Martin was really that dude. Like that's why people still watch Martin right now. Like some of the funniest episodes of TV I seen came from Martin.
So maybe we should expand our rewatching to TV shows as well. So y'all definitely, I'll run some polls.
We can do TV shows after the movies
on Instagram, and we can mix it up and go back and forth.
But now when I look back at Martin, I really only like the first 2 seasons of the show, maybe 3.
How many seasons was it on?
I think it's like 5 or 6 seasons of Martin. Like after a while, it felt like everybody was trying to be Martin after a while on the show, so it stopped being funny. It stopped being as funny to me. Like some of the story, they just was coming up with anything to just have Martin cut up in. So some of it got a little goofy, but nevertheless,
I'm sorry, y'all.
Martin was an iconic show. But
we could definitely run some things back. I love me some 227. I used to watch that.
I used to like 227 too. I kind of, after a while, they started making it hard to find 227. Like I watched it when it came on, like when it was new episodes, like on Saturdays and stuff like that. So like they made that show hard to keep up with though, because I remember them bouncing it around so much.
A couple of years ago, I rewatched Moesha. I wrote a blog article about it because I grew up on that. I was probably right before I went into high school. I think Moesha was on. I was in middle school, and I, as an adult watching it back, definitely was like, okay, so she was a very problematic young lady. And
she can't get on your nerves.
Oh my God, does she? So there's definitely some shows that I'd like to revisit. That UPN lineup used to be fire though. CW and all that. Like there's definitely some things that we can rewatch, and we don't maybe necessarily have to watch all the seasons, but visit some episodes of some things and see how we feel about it. Because I think what I enjoy most is the clarity that comes with adulthood and just knowing, like, when you were watching this, you were young and impressionable. And that's really the reality of it. Even these movies, because most of these movies, the ones that came out in the 90s, I was in middle school.
Some of that stuff is hard to rewatch sometimes too. Like when you go back and you're like, man, I can't believe this.
This was my it. This was my, like,
really...
history. Because now I'm side-eyeing it. I've definitely... Girlfriends is one of those shows where I was just kind of like, why are we here? Like, why are these things happening? Moesha was definitely another one. The Parkers was another one. Like, I was pissed off at the way they presented Monique and Kim. Like, she was the fattest Joan on the planet, and like neither one of them were like super big. Now Monique, she was a healthy sized woman, but definitely not the largest woman I've ever seen. And Kim was maybe like a 14, which is what I wear now. We're 14, 16. And to see them paint her as being like this morbidly obese character is crazy to me. I'm like, we really were feeding into a lot of negative, I think, stereotypes.
In retrospect, Kim probably get more love now from the more mature.
They be eating her up. Well, she's also
like, no, that's because she got a little crazy in recent years, and I hate to say that.
The music videos,
she like
the music,
but she was
taking me out.
But Kim was cool. Like, and the Parker. I never liked the Parkers because of the way they portrayed them.
I didn't like the way they had her shucking and jiving behind a man who was playing her.
The whole show though was them shucking and jiving.
And when they gave
they dressed mad tacky. They was loud.
I won't call it tacky. Some of them things, some of their
they was making them match. Like some of them.
No, I can't. No, pause. No, for the time. And I don't think you don't understand as a man, for the time to see plus size women being fashion forward in a time where we were being told dark colors were our only options, muumuu dresses, they gave us something. That is personal, deeply, deeply personal to me as a plus size teenager growing up, and even as a plus size woman, having those examples. I'll never go behind them and call them tacky. Like, it's tacky now for us because of where fashion is at, but absolutely not. I can't even let you eat down on that one because it doesn't. It's very simple-minded on your part, because to not understand what they were doing for plus size community, absolutely not even going there with you.
Oh, but I'm not giving you no smoke about
I will say that what pissed me off is, again, the way they made it seem like fat women could not be loved on. And when they finally gave Monique a story arc in which this man was head over heels for her and wanted to marry her, she turned him down for the professor. That pissed me off to no ends. Like, made me mad. Like, watching that back a couple years ago, I was like, why did I rewatch this? Because it's like, y'all had the opportunity to really show plus women you deserve to be wine dined and treated well by a man, despite the fact that you are larger. And she had male pursuers in that show who liked her and wanted her, and she always was chasing after a man who did not want her. And I think it was very caricature of fat people. It was like to make it seem like we were desperate and we didn't have any common sense and we didn't deserve those things. And that I feel like it was a lot of tropes that got played into, a lot of stereotypes that got leaned into that I didn't appreciate. So
some of that too I get what you're saying and I totally agree. Well, I'm not trying to dismiss that, but I'm just thinking about the other shows that have kind of been like that. Like that's a classic, like, TV back and forth to a certain extent, because Bull was playing her. Like, he was coming in the student union building, like, scared, like, to run into her, like, looking over his shoulder and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden she's like the woman of his dreams or whatever. But you think about even with Dwayne and Whitley on A Different World, how they went back and forth for so long, and he had found another Joan who was smart and had it going on. She was also as attractive.
Well, Whitley was also smart.
I know, but she was
it's not the same. And it's not
the same,
reason, but that's what I'm saying.
You ain't let me finish what I'm saying. But like, when you think about it, like, it wasn't no reason that he had to go back to her. Like, Whitney was a classic light skinned Joan that he was
get
going
it, but
to.
this is apples and oranges. Like, what I'm speaking to is very specific.
No, it was just something that came to mind. I'm not talking. You had the whole other plus size agenda that's going in there, and I'm not disagreeing or trying to discount it. I was just thinking about how that's a classic storyline that they write, where this back and forth, will they, won't they, and then finally.
But that's the thing. Professor Ogilvy and Monique were not a back and forth.
Yeah,
it wasn't the same.
They tried to make it that.
No,
with
they
that
didn't.
end in there.
At the end, it wasn't even like that. Like, that was not a back and
forth. Because they didn't
stay
stay together. Didn't they get married or something?
They got married at the very last episode. It was not a back and forth, though. This was not like, he was interested, she was interested. They just couldn't align their time right. This was just pure, just them playing Monique as a big woman, like, delusional. Like she would be so delusional about their relationship, and it just was, ugh, I hated that. So as an adult, like when I was younger and watching the Parkers, I was watching it for Kim, because obviously she's a younger person on the show, more relatable. She was in college and all those things.
But Kim
And to
has some of
me,
that same energy in her
with
relationships,
Hakeem,
right?
that translated over from Moesha. Um, but I was watching the show for her because of, at that time, that age was more relatable for me. But I always felt like, I still liked Monique because of what she represented, like as a plus size woman. Now, as an adult watching that show, I was watching more from the view of being near to watch Monique and really coming to an understanding of how I just don't appreciate the way that they painted plus size people. But that happens a lot, not just in Black shows. Like I'm very fiercely against shows where they censor plus size people, and I know that sounds horrible, but it's because of the way that they do it. It's because it's like, okay, you know, this sad, mopey fat girl trying to get her life together. It always starts with like a weight loss journey. It's never just like this fat person's existing, living their life, and they're content. Like their weight is always going to be. I would like to see a show where there's a fat character where the weight is not the main discussion. Where like it could be a sidebar, like okay, eventually maybe somewhere in the series she dates a person who wants to lose weight, but that not being the center of the show. Whenever they put fat characters in shows, they're either the butt of the joke, they're very maternal or matronly, or they're like the friend that takes care of everybody, or their weight becomes like the center of attention. I like to see a show where there's just like this big person who is just living life and doing things, and that not being the topic of discussion.
I want to see. We should probably watch that show. The John had on Hulu. It didn't get renewed, but the babe who was on Insecure, who's a writer,
yeah.
and she's a plus size woman.
Yeah, but I think there was some concerns for me. I wanted to see it, and I haven't watched it yet because I think weight loss was at like the center of her. She was trying to get her life together. So I know
it was something about life and death.
I'll give it a shot, but I would like to see that.
I would think the reason why I said that we should probably watch this because I would think she was somebody who might be able to write a decent show without incorporating it. I heard that show had really positive reviews about it. So I was thinking maybe that might fall into what you were looking for.
I'm just write my own show
and see if it can meet it. I told you when I first met you, I thought you should write your own show, and you were like, I don't know, nobody wants to hear that. Well, I think you're very capable. I think you at least are capable of getting the idea for it, even if you can't write a whole TV series. You can write something that somebody could pick up.
Well, that's our time, folks. We are approaching we're a little past our hour mark. I'm a little tired. It was fun as always. So we'll definitely be coming back. We'll never promise a date or a time. It'll just show up on your timeline, and hopefully, y'all don't hold us, too terrible in your mind for the inconsistencies. But we'll be back, and we're looking forward to dissecting more movies and television shows and music as always, and talking about whatever things are kind of current events. Keeping it light though, like we can get into some deep conversations.
We ain't
I think during a time where it's just
podcast.
we're not gonna do too much about he versus she and all that stuff. Like we're not doing
that. Over that. That is so.
I don't want to see it no more. I don't want to see it on my timeline. So okay, I don't want to see it no more. But we're always here to bring the positive energy and just have a moment to hang out with each other.
I do like some of the funny people though, like. Don't Call Me White Girl. Like her podcast is actually kind of funny, like because she be on there hiking on them boys that be on the show with her. Like she's actually funny. I like her. I think she might be in a little bit of controversy recently because
how do you like once you reach a certain level? I think controversy just comes with it because here's the thing: the more honest you are, the more you are yourself on a podcast or whatever. People are gonna not always agree with what you have to say.
But I think she's catching some flack because. It was a darker skin John that she said looked like she just like went in on her about her looks. And she wasn't a dark skin John. She was a brown skin John. I don't really know the whole background about it, so I can't speak to it. But it was this babe. I seen a post about this babe that she was trashing for her appearance, and like the babe wasn't ugly or nothing.
I do hate that
So it's turned into a light.
Colorism is an issue in the Black community, but I also hate the fact that if you have an opinion about somebody and they happen to be darker than you, it don't matter what you said and how factual it is, it's going to get paid as colorism. If you speak in favor of somebody who is lighter skinned, I don't matter what you say, how right or wrong it is, it's going to get paid as colorism. And I think that's the part that's why I stay silent a lot. There are so many things that I see that I'm like, oh, I have commented about this. I haven't thought about this. But y'all are not finna drag me into them colorism wars. Y'all go ahead. Cause it's almost like it's almost like a way to censor people from talking. Is if I add a phobia behind it or an ism, you won't tell the truth. So
Ooh.
you're being a phobic of this, whether it's fat phobia, transphobia, homophobic, xenophobic,
It's too
or
much.
whether it's colorism, racism.
It's too
Like
much.
if there's an ism or phobia behind it, and you say something anti-Semitism, you're not allowed to say things about people who look different than you, because the minute you do, that ism or phobia is going to be attached, and it doesn't matter how relevant what you said is or factual. We have reached that energy in time where it's like, I don't care what you're saying, this person falls into this class of people, therefore you're attacking them because of that class, not because what you're genuinely saying is just based in opinion. That, I think, is the hardest part about navigating social media and trying to have honest conversations, because I don't think people want honest conversations. People want to come and fight, people want to argue, and I think they want to argue online. They're not really about that life in real life. They just want to, and I feel like people have discovered new words and new studies that have been regurgitated, and they just feel like, I got to say this. I have to respond with these statistics and these things that I've learned from other TikTokers, and you are being this. And it's like, but did you even hear what this person said? Like, because there are people whose content that I love, but there's also people, those same people whose content that I love, sometimes make content that I do not agree with. And I have spoken up and said things, and I have been blocked. Like, you're just saying that because, and I'm like, I wasn't even checking for Shorty because she was lighter skin or darker skin. I was just saying that what she said sounded crazy. But you can't say that anymore. So I abstain. I'm saying I'm one of those people that, like, I scroll by, or I'll make my own content without directly like tagging pages and stuff. Because when you do that, you're looking for smoke. So we won't be doing any of that over here, because we want to keep things.
Yeah.
And if you try to create that kind of drama, I'm gonna tell you right now, with the 15 faithful followers and viewers we have, I'll block you. I'm not afraid to lose a follower. Don't care if I only have 3 people watching. I will block you, because we won't be doing that over here. That's not the energy we're trying to put out at all.
I can't fight the internet.
Child,
life is too hard.
listen.
I
Real
gotta
life,
deal with
I don't
that.
have time to be arguing with keyboard warriors.
I'm
But
good.
as always, if you've been following this AJ podcast for the few years, we've been going strong. Thank you. We appreciate you. We have even taken a year or two off. And the fact that there are some of y'all who still comment, y'all are there to support the Instagram post. We love you. We appreciate you. Thank you. And so we look forward to seeing y'all next time. Your girl's about to get into this foot rub and get some sleep though. So get you a bear, not mine, but get you a bear. As always, y'all, thank you so much for joining us and supporting us. If you like it,
we got a good amount of followers.
We do.
It's almost 1,000.
You'll be doing it up a little bit. So like, share, subscribe, share the content on Instagram, engage with the polls. Tell us what you guys like to hear us talk about. Tell us if you want to be a guest on the show, and we'll set that up. But it's my time, baby. It's time to go.
Peace, y'all.
Bye.